Hey, welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of Coronado. And as we always start out our announcement, please refrain from using the facility's Wi-Fi as it pulls from our tech equipment. So let's start out as welcoming all of our members, all of our guests, and particularly all our members and guests that are joining us on Zoom. So let's, Jacqueline Trapp, if she's here, she's going to do our inspirational invocation and pledge. If you please rise.
So thank you. I'm going to read you one of my favorite poems. I'll make it short. It's called The Station. Tucked away in our subconscious is an idyllic vision. We're traveling by train. Out the window we drink in, the passing scenes of children waving at the crossing, cattle grazing on a distant hillside, row upon row of corn and wheat, flatlands and valleys, rolling hills and cityscapes. But uppermost in our minds is the final destination. On a certain day, we will pull into the station. When we get into the station, bands will be playing and flags will be waving. Once we get there, our dreams will come true, and the pieces of our lives will fit together like a completed jigsaw puzzle. Restlessly, we pace the aisles, damning the minutes, waiting for the station. When we reach the station, that will be it, we cry. When I'm 18, when I can afford the Mercedes-Benz, when I put the last kid through college, when I eventually pay off the mortgage, when I get that big promotion, when I reach retirement. Then I shall live happily ever after. Sooner or later, we realize there is no station, no one place to arrive. The true joy of life is the journey. The station is only a dream. It constantly outdistances us. So I say, stop pacing the aisles and counting the miles. Instead, climb more mountains, eat more ice cream, go barefoot more often, swim more rivers, watch more sunsets, love more, worry less. Life must be lived as we go along. The station will come soon enough.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
All right, great. Thank you. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Jacqueline. That was really good. Okay, so next we have Past President Dan Orr with our visiting Rotarians and guests.
Hi, everybody. We found two that found us today, including in public relations, past president from San Diego, Club 33. Please welcome David Oates. And an attorney from Reno Central, got out of the snow, Shirley Roberts. Okay. Do we have any guests of Rotarians? I can't see who that is. Oh, it's Frank.
Yes. If I may introduce my wife, Connie.
Okay.
Hey, Dan. How are you today?
That's Steve.
I'd like to introduce my wife, Penny.
Okay. Back in the hinterlands.
Thank you for having me as a guest Rotarian, and I bring a guest, Gina Schnell, who's a realtor here in Coronado.
Okay, and then I have a guest, John Jacobson, right here, and he's a special guest. He's going to be inducted today as a member. So do we have any guests or anybody on Zoom that would like to, or visiting Rotarians? Okay, and I did want to say that David Oates right here, he is an assistant governor at some of the other clubs for the district. He's also in charge of the human trafficking task force for the district. So we're very happy to have him with us today. Then I would, if, where's Doug? Yeah, Doug, can you just go around for the people on Zoom and just take a slow go around the room and just show everybody how we've dressed today. And I said, what I do for Rotary sometimes. Okay, while she's doing that, we always have our Red Badgers that are here today stand up. So Jerry Brown is right here. Ronnie Hostler is right here. Of course, Joe Malloy right here with our tech. Arlene Inch, Arlene's right there. And I think I saw Hanadi Badassarian, right there is Hanadi. Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody. All right. So if we can start with the announcement slide. Also, for March, one of our areas of focus is for this month is water and sanitation. So on the March social, the first one is Thursday, March 9th, which is a week from tomorrow. We have our social at Virginia Bear's house, 631 Coronado Avenue from 5:30 to 7:30. Also remember to bring adult beverage and appetizers to share. And as I always say every single time, is please remember to bring your reusable cup, glass, and then also if you bring that to the meetings or any committee meetings, so one plastic cup at a time we're saving. Next, we have beach cleanup, and that is Saturday, March 11th, meet 7:45 at Isabella and Ocean. And also on the exact same day for CPE, our committee to protect the environment, we have the Coronado Arbor Day tree planting, which is through the city. It's on Saturday, March 11th, also at 8:30 a.m. You meet at Spreckles Park as normal, wear your vest as you do for beach cleanup. And what they do is they're going to educate you on planting trees, and then you'll go out and plant trees in the city. So that's something different, and it should be a lot of fun. If you have any questions on that, Marv Hines can answer questions, but it'd be great to show up, and it would be good to have a lot of representatives for that. Then we have the golf tournament, March 31st. As of today, if you want to play, it's $300. It went up $50, as we've heard. I don't know how many Wednesdays we've heard that. If you want to sponsor, so you can see past President Ken McLeod, past President Tom Mitchell, past President Ivan Dunn. And remember, for sponsoring, that helps our impact giving. And also you would get, if you donated anywhere between $250 to $1,000, you would get Paul Harris points for that. Then also returns at Workday. Keep that date in mind. That's Saturday, April 29th. And we'll be telling more about what we're going to do for that day. Then what I wanted to do, which I probably should have done it months past, is I'd like to just go over real quick what the meetings for this month are going to be and where they're going to be. So next week, I have it here somewhere. Next week, we're going to have we'll be at CCYC. We're going to have a Rotary Music Scholarship Contest. Then on March 15th, the speaker will talk to us on Celebrity War Stories, Confessions of a Movie Studio Publicist. And I think that's a friend of Doug St. Dennis is going to speak. And in the first business part, the first 30 minutes, the new CEO from the Sharp Hospital is going to come and introduce himself and just talk a little bit about the future of our hospital. And also they're going to have a doctor from there that's going to talk to us on recognizing TIAs and strokes. And then Jason Summers from the fire department, who is our newest fire chief, he's going to come and talk on what EMS's role is and if you have a symptom on that. Then on March 22nd, we'll be at the Dell, and we have the new mayor of Imperial Beach that's going to come and speak to us. And then on March 29th, since we have 5 Wednesdays in March, we're going to do something different. We're going to meet in the evening at Feast and Fairway. And it would be from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. And our city manager, who's going to be one of our new members also, Tina Friend, is going to speak on the update of the city. So that's something, that we all have to look forward to. Next, see what's next. The 4th of July float committee. The kickoff meeting is March 22nd. It'll be fun. They're looking for volunteer opportunities if you're interested. And also if you're interested in taking a lead for that float committee, I know that John Petrotti's here. He's leading it. If you're interested, get a hold of him. And then also the wheelchair Wolfpack. I have to remember that. Wolfpack will be back again for our float, so that'll be great. Then also, if you are working with any committees or on a committee for youth, just know as of today, you have to have the Rotary Youth Protection Certification. So I know Janice Lowenberg has sent out to the committee heads of those committees to get a hold of their members that you need to get that certification. So if you have any questions on that, you can ask Janice Lowenberg, Michelle Petty, or I know past President Rob Taylor's done it, past President Ivan Dunn has done it. And you can go to the district website. Next, and I'm really happy to announce this, last week, because of the disaster in Turkey and Syria, we always give to Shelter Box, and we started that donation last week. And I'm so happy to announce that so far we have raised $22,650, which is amazing. So that's helping right now 23 families with these boxes to be able to survive. Now, I know that Jamie's going to keep up on our website the button if you still want to donate and haven't. You can still go to the website and donate, or I'm sure get a hold of Jamie if you still want to do that. So next, if we can get a mic to Jane Summerall for Care and Concern.
President Luann and fellow Rotarians, as some of you may know, a former member, Glenn Welch, passed away last week after a battle with cancer. He was a member of our club for over 31 years. And there will be a service for him next Wednesday at 10:15 at the Miramar National Cemetery, and followed by a reception right here at Coronado Yacht Club. And also, many of you will remember Mike DeBar. Mike was a member of our club for 21 years, and some years ago moved to Florida. But anyway, he passed away February in Naples. And yeah, so that's all.
All right. Thank you. So remember them in your prayers. Next, favorite thing ever is induction with past President Suzanne Pop. And if John Jacobson wants to come up also.
Hello, everyone. Let's see if I can remember this. President Luann, members of the board, Rotarians, and guests, the induction of a new member is a special opportunity to welcome people into our club. John Jacobson is sponsored by our President Luann. His classification is international business. John, we welcome you to this global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world. The club thanks you for your willingness to share the values of service and fellowship in Rotary. A new member in our club means new ideas, new enthusiasm, and greater fellowship, which leads to greater service. John, one of your duties in this club, besides telling me great restaurants in Buenos Aires, which you forgot to do, means that you can join any of our 60 plus committees. This also means saying yes when you're asked to serve. You might be asked to join a committee. You might be asked to chair a committee, or you might be asked one day to lead this organization. It is with great pleasure on behalf of President Luann, members of the board, and all of our members that we welcome you to the Rotary Club of Coronado. Your service above self starts now. Everyone, please rise and give John a round of applause. I think there's supposed to be a pin in here. John, we've got a couple of questions for you too. What inspired you to join Rotary?
Well, two things. First, my father was a Rotarian in La Mesa. And second is the mission statement for Rotary International, which is very straightforward and really sums up why I want to be a Rotarian.
That's great. Can you tell us three words to describe you?
Well, my fortune today, actually, my fortune cookie said that I'm compassionate and fun-loving, but I would say after 30 years in an international business career, very patient, very understanding, very faithful.
Thank you. And lastly, tell us 3 interests or hobbies so that people have something to talk to you about when they're meeting you.
Well, that's one. I love to travel. And part of my travels leads me to enjoy to be a student of history. And I've also been a swimmer my entire life, so I love to swim.
And beer. He mentioned beer.
And the beer club's at 4 o'clock today at the VFW. New members are always welcome.
Thank you very much, John, and congratulations. Here's your packet.
Okay, so if there's one slide that we have that I just had to show. So John went to, correct me, Santo Domingo, and took a banner, and I had to laugh because I'm like, oh my God, he's already behind the podium. And so here you go, Suzanne. Here's somebody for a potential president. All right. So now what we need to do is 1,000 Smiles. We have, if Bob Chafla would like to come up and talk to us about 1,000 Smiles, and we have also a check presentation.
Thank you. They told me that this was going to be a 5-minute talk. I've never seen a Rotarian that could only talk for 5 minutes, but I'll try. 1,000 Smiles. You guys have been involved in 1,000 Smiles almost from the start. In the last 5 or 6 years, we did a big construction project, invested about $500,000, which we got from donations and from Rotary. And if any of you have been there, we used to just have dental chairs. We did all our surgeries at the general hospital. Now we have our own operating rooms. And for any of you that don't know about 1,000 Smiles, 1,000 Smiles is one of the only multidisciplinary cleft palate programs that I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of them, been to Rotary conventions and seen a lot of them. But we do ENT, we do orthodontics, we do dental, we do speech therapy, we do audiology, and obviously we do surgery. And we see a patient sometimes from the time they're maybe 2 months old. Actually, sometimes before 2 months. We don't do any procedures till they're 2 months. And we see patients until they're 18 or 19 years old. It's an awesome project. Started back in 1985. Before it was really called 1,000 Smiles, I'd like to share with you the one thing that did start it. We had a person, I was in National City Rotary at the time. We had a person come in to give us a program on an existing UCSD plastic surgery project that did cleft palate surgeries. And afterwards, one of our members went up and asked if we could help. And he said, sure. So we started a project in National City to raise $3,500 to buy surgical instruments. And I look at that clinic now, that was 85. So now that's what, 35 years later, or 38 years later. And I can't believe that little thing started this whole project. We've treated probably just under 2,000 children with surgery, and probably about 20,000 dental patients from underprivileged families. And it's really been a wonderful experience. And I thank you for all your help. Coronado Rotary has been involved in this right from the start. The Vernetti family very involved in it. And it's really a wonderful program. And you guys have been a big partner of ours ever since it started. Thank you.
And then what I wanted to do is our club donated $3,000 to 1,000 Smiles. So this goes to, obviously not this check, but this goes to you for $3,000 toward that from our club. You're welcome. All right. Yeah, we can just put it back here.
Okay.
It's fine. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now comes the birthday celebration. Here she comes, past President Suzanne Manuel.
Hey, happy birthday, 97 years, Coronado Rotary. That's something to celebrate. We only have 3 more years to the 100, so get ready for that big blip. And nothing happens without leadership. And we have some fantastic leadership in this club, as you all know, past, present, and future. And we have from our board of directors. But right now, I'd like to take the club's time to thank Luann Miller for being a fantastic president and Luann's doing her 97th year. There you go. These are for you. And no party is complete without cake, flowers, balloons, and music and entertainment. So in a few minutes, we were going to be cutting the cake. So you all stand by for that. We've got our lovely 97th birthday cake over there. And so we are going to entertain you now. And it's the Coronado right over there. And the diva is here. She's in the house. Mary Taylor, take it away.
Hello, this is your Rotary Corral. It's a goodly portion of them, and it's not the whole deal, but we got as many as we are, and in gratitude, we have some musical offerings for the wonderful club here. 97 years of community service and fellowship. So this is our gift to Coronado Rotary. I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this, the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing, hallelujah. Just one more, and this should be our theme song. I'm just saying. Here, ready? Okay, go for it, little jar there. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying, I watch them grow. There ain't much more that I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah. Thank you. And now, we're getting ready for the cake. Everybody with us. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Coronado Rotary. Happy 97th birthday to we're gonna be handing some cake out, I think. Yeah. You did great.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I know we're really good up there. Let's try to imagine what Coronado was like in the spring of 1926. We're almost ready to celebrate 97 years. First of all, there was very little traffic. There were no high buildings, no condominiums, no stoplights, but there were a lot of vacant lots, and you probably live on one of them right now. It wasn't all good in paradise, however. There were some conflicts among the citizens, and especially civic leaders, about the Spreckles companies. They owned a lot. They had a lot of money. They were very influential, and a lot of people were under their employment. So the people that were not in the sphere of Spreckles were kind of left out in the cold, meaning a lot of good citizens who were upright leaders and so forth. A man named Albert Ferret, who was to be the owner and manager and editor of the Coronado Journal, and so he was a very influential person in town. He was the journalist. He heard all these things, these concerns that the citizens had about Spreckles. And so he decided to try to do something about it, make things better in the community. He talked to his neighbor. His neighbor was a high executive at San Diego Gas and Electric, downtown San Diego on Market. But his neighbor said, you know, I've been a member of Club 33 in downtown San Diego for quite a while. It was started in 1911. I said, you might be interested in trying to establish a Coronado Rotary Club right there on your island. Well, Albert Frett thought that was a really good idea, and he ran with it. He persuaded a lot of civic leaders that it was a really great idea to convene a group like us that could talk about issues of the community and try to make lives better for all the citizens. Well, the requirement was that you had to be sponsored by another Rotary Club. Club 33 agreed to sponsor our club. And the requirement was that you had to have 20 signatures on your application to Rotary International for club membership. Albert found 22 signatures. The paperwork was submitted to Rotary International in Evanston in November of 1925. It was received by us in March of 26. So that would be our birthday, March 8th, 1926. That's next Wednesday, but we're celebrating this Wednesday, you know that. So what a success that was. And thereon, our Rotary Club became a very influential and persuasive part of the community. Where was it meeting? Well, they first met at a place called Blue Lantern Cafe, which was really well known. And it was on the lot where now the Marisal Hotel is. And there are great photographs of it. It was operated by two women recently from Europe. It was owned by an unknown party to me. And it was a popular place where they met. They started to meet in the early days on Friday noons, but they changed it to Wednesday noons. And thereafter, things started gelling. But the building was sold by the owner, and the ladies had to stop their restaurant and we had to move out. The building, by the way, is at 915 H right now. And if you walk up and down your dog up and down H or your bicycle, that is where our Rotary, that's the building our Rotary began in. And it's not really well kept, but it's there. And that's it. So they built the hotel and so forth. Rotary moved. They went to the San Diego Yacht Club on Glorieta Bay. And that is where the official photo was taken of our founders. And that's on the wall in Jamie's office. So is the charter on the wall in Jamie's office, kindly framed by my wife, Penny. So those things are there. But we didn't get to stay at the San Diego Yacht Club very long. So we went to, and this is about 1929, we went to the Coronado Country Club. Believe it or not, you know, there are houses now, but back then it was a country club. And they had a big meeting room and we had our meetings there. And we have photo evidence of that as well. Finally, about 1930, the story. We were at the country club and the food was really good. And so we said, my gosh, give our compliments to the chef. Who is the chef? Well, the chef was the Hotel del Coronado. They catered it. So we said, oh, okay. So some of our leaders went over to Hotel Del and struck up a bargain that lasted for decades. We went to the Del every Wednesday noon. And so thereafter, it's been a little bit different, but we have that terrific legacy that's still part of our history with the Hotel Del. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
And I'm on time.
I know. I have to applaud Steve on that because I was getting ready to. Okay, so next, Jean Marie Bond would like to come up and introduce our speaker for today.
As many of you know, lacrosse is a very, very popular sport here in Coronado, with many of your children, grandchildren, or friends' children playing the game. And we have quite a few athletes that go on to play D1 and D2 collegiate level lacrosse. So I'm particularly pleased today to be able to introduce the Vice President for the San Diego Seals, Josh Gross. He has been a lacrosse professional for almost 2 decades. He's been with the San Diego Seals since they were founded in 2017. And he's a veteran of the professional sports industry, having served in various positions with various different organizations. But today he's here to talk to us about the 2023 World Championship lacrosse competition that will be taking place right here in San Diego. So Josh, would you please come up? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jean Marie, and thank you to Dave for making this all happen today, and thank you to all of you for inviting me to your club to celebrate your birthday. Happy 97th birthday to the club, and what an exciting time! And so great to see so many people actually out here as well. I've been to some other clubs and haven't seen this many in a single room that I've gone. So congratulations to you, and keep it up. I'll tell you a little bit about my background, if I could, which is I grew up actually in New Jersey, and I grew up in a family that I say hated, but maybe the right word is disliked sports. My sister didn't play sports; she was 2 years older. My parents didn't really have much of a connection to sports, and starting in first grade, I started playing sports, and I got so into the idea of sports that actually the joke in my family was that I was adopted, because clearly I was the outcast and the outlier within the family itself. I became a huge Yankees fan when the Yankees were terrible and the New York Mets were good. So all my friends were Mets fans, and I was rooting for, at the time, a very poor Yankees team. And I would bore my parents and my sister every night at dinner with Yankees facts that I'd read in the newspaper from the previous day's game or other articles that I could find, to the point where my sister literally couldn't get a word in at the dinner table. She lobbied my parents that for 5 minutes every night at dinner that I wasn't allowed to speak so she could talk about something other than Yankees baseball. And they said yes. So I had for 5 minutes to think about what I was going to say next, but that started my my love affair with sports. And by the time I was 12, 13 years old, much like many other youth, I figured out I'm not good enough. I'm not going to be playing in the pinstripes. I'm not good enough to play any professional sport. So how do I be around sports? Because I love the idea of team. And I'll tell you in just a minute why I was misguided by the idea of team at the time, but I love the concept of team. And so at that point, you couldn't really be a general manager for a team because sports analytics really hadn't taken off to where you didn't need to play. You had to be a past athlete at a high level to have that opportunity. So I said, you know what? I'm going to be a broadcaster. I'm going to be the play-by-play announcer for the Yankees one day. And I dedicated my life from the time I was 12 or 13 years old to actually go and be a broadcaster in sports, play-by-play, right? I love the idea of live sports because you never know what's going to happen. And every time I go to a sporting event, regardless of the sport now, I always see something that I've never seen before. Maybe very subtle, but I see something that I absolutely fall in love with. So I went to Syracuse University. I got my broadcast journalism degree. For those of you that don't know, Syracuse is what's called Sportscaster U. It's like everybody and every sport you ever watch who's doing play-by-play, almost everybody went to Syracuse. And I didn't really follow in those footsteps, but I went there and then immediately moved to Boston for my first job. I tried to buck the system. My professors said you have to move to tiny town for 2 years and then to slightly larger town and then to small city. And every 2 years you'd be on the move. And for my now wife and I, who we met in Syracuse at a lacrosse game, but my now wife and I, we knew that wasn't right for us. We wanted to be in a city and we didn't want to be moving around all the time. So we went to Boston. I worked in professional lacrosse for 2 years and then actually moved to Denver, where I worked for the better part of 15 years. I'll see if this name rings a bell with anyone. Does anyone know who Stan Kroenke is? Stan Kroenke, who said yes here? You're correct. He did. Stan Kroenke, who owns the LA Rams and SoFi Stadium, the Denver Nuggets, the Colorado Avalanche, Colorado Rapids, and Major League Soccer, a bunch of sports TV stations, et cetera. So I worked in Denver for his company for almost 15 years, and I loved Denver. We had no family out there. Friends became our family. But then I had an opportunity. And by the way, every time there was bad weather, and I think about it as the sun's come out today, but bad weather in Denver is a little bit different than bad weather here. But jokingly, every day we go in the office and there was bad weather, we would say, San Diego Sand Crabs, San Diego Sand Crabs. And we didn't care what sport it was. We didn't care what league it was. We just cared that we got to San Diego. And lo and behold, fast forward to early 2017, And the then president and general manager of the team I worked for in Colorado connected with our now owner of the San Diego Seals, Joe Tsai. And Joe decided to buy an expansion team in the National Lacrosse League and thus became the San Diego Seals. When Joe was approached about it, he said, I want to do it. I want to do it right. I want to do it with you, to our team president, and I want to do it in San Diego. So does anyone know, has anyone heard Joe Tsai's name prior to me just mentioning him today? Okay, you have. How do you know Joe's name? Okay, sounds all right. So who has shopped on Amazon in the last month? All right, he's not Amazon. He's what they would call China's Amazon and Alibaba, even though it's more than China. It's pretty much the rest of the world. So he was co-founder of Alibaba. And his story and his connection to lacrosse was he actually came as a boarding school student to the United States from Taiwan, didn't speak the language, didn't know the culture, didn't have any friends, tried out for the baseball team and got cut. And in getting cut, he decided he would join the lacrosse team and thus became this love affair with this great stick and ball sport. So we launched the San Diego Seals in the National Lacrosse League. Joe also owns the Brooklyn Nets in the NBA, the New York Liberty in the WNBA, Barclays Center Arena in Brooklyn, and a myriad of other sports properties, including the Las Vegas Desert Dogs, which is an expansion team in the National Lacrosse League that he co-owns alongside Wayne Gretzky. I assume everyone here has heard of Wayne Gretzky, Dustin Johnson, and Steve Nash. And this Saturday, actually at 1:30, we're playing the first outdoor lacrosse game in the 37-year history of the National Lacrosse League at Snapdragon Stadium. And it'll be Joe's team, the Seals, against Joe's team, the Desert Dogs. So that'll be a fun experience. If you don't have tickets yet, you can check it out, sealslax.com. Love to see you all this weekend. And San Diego State Women's Lacrosse is hosting 3 other D1 women's teams that are playing Friday evening and Sunday at the stadium as well. So this is a precursor and gets us to the point of why I'm here today to talk about the World Lacrosse Men's Championship. But I want to take just one quick step back, which was why I was misguided in my career and my thought process as a teen or tween. I thought the idea of team meant literally team. I had to be part of a team. And what I didn't know at that time was that a team in business is any time that you're working with at least one more person for a common good. So I've devoted 30 years of my life now to this concept of team, which I've fallen in love with the sports side and the business side of it. But I really love what happens here, right? What happens within a club and the idea of all the different clubs that you have within the club, the groups. I love the singing right there. It was fantastic. And so I commend all of you on the idea of this team that you have formed and that was formed many decades ago and continues to this day and beyond. So coming up this summer is the World Lacrosse Men's Championship presented by Rady Children's Hospital. We'll have more than 100 games of competition with 30 nations coming to play here in San Diego, 30 nations from 6 continents around the globe. There will be a side-by-side festival for youth and adult teams that will be playing as well in the spirit of competition for the sport. I can't see where we are. Ray, you able to? Cool. All right, we'll get there at some point. So World Lacrosse is the international federation. If you know FIFA for soccer, World Lacrosse is that for our sport. And this competition, think of it as the World Cup, but for the sport of lacrosse. Now, while the Seals play indoors normally in a box, which is a hockey rink setup, this is actually the field game that we're talking about that you might see Coronado High School or the Coronado Youth Lacrosse Clubs playing as well. Great. Thank you. Excellent. There we go. World Lacrosse has been around for about 50 years, and the growth has been staggering. This international competition that we're hosting, it's in the United States for the fourth time in its history and the first time on the West Coast. And if you take a look at this growth, it's actually, I wouldn't say it's outdated because it stops at 2022, but we're actually up approaching 85 nations right now. And what's really fascinating, which we'll get to in just a minute, is why this growth is so important for this sport and for children and adults around the globe. In 2018, the competition was held in Israel. You can see dating back to 1967 with the first competition held in Israel. And the United States is the defending world champions, and it's US and Canada dominated. Little known fact, lacrosse actually used to be in the Olympics. 1904, 1908, it was in the Olympics. 20 years later, it was a demonstration sport. And the last time it was in the Olympics was in 1948. Our vision and work that's been put in the last decade has been to get lacrosse back in the Olympics. Now, I talked, if we go back for a second, to this trajectory of the sport. More than 80 nations now have recognized national governing bodies. That number will grow exponentially and participation will grow. And why? The reason that is because in the United States, all of the national governing bodies, those are privately funded. But around the globe, most countries, the funding goes actually from the government to support the sports that are Olympic sports. So as we think about what Joe's story was when he came to the States and why lacrosse is so important to him, it gave him friendship, it taught him culture, it taught him the language, it taught him teamwork and sportsmanship. All of that contributes to his desire to see the sport grow and ultimately why we want to get it into the Olympic Games in LA 2028. To get into the Olympics, it is a significant process. A lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of money, and a lot of really smart minds to get it there. LA 28, just like every other host, is able to put in 3 sports into the Olympic Games that they choose. And so this is their opportunity. Our sport itself is North America's oldest team sport. It dates back nearly 1,000 years to indigenous tribes. It was played to celebrate war, peace, life. It was a gift in their minds from the Creator. And the sport itself has so much more meaning to them. When a young boy is born into one of these 6 nations, which now occupy the area of northern New York and up into Ontario, Canada, he gets a lacrosse stick the day he's born. The game means so much to them. And right here is Austin Stotts in this photo. Austin is actually the star on our San Diego Seals team. So we have indigenous roots within our organization. And for Austin, you can actually see, even on his tattoos, some of the meanings and connection here to the game of lacrosse. It means so much more to them. What's fascinating about this is the Olympic movement. As you've seen probably in the last 10 years or so, you saw a refugee team compete in the Olympics. You saw a Russian representative team. The Olympics, the IOC, just as our culture has become more accepting and accommodating and made let's say, exceptions to the rule more so than we ever have before. One of these such exceptions is the Haudenosaunee. Now, Haudenosaunee is the national team for the indigenous tribes. Some of the other pictures you'll see in this slideshow show Iroquois. Iroquois is the French name given to indigenous. And so they've changed recently, and now they're the Haudenosaunee. World Lacrosse, for almost 40 years, has been recognizing the Haudenosaunee and their gift of giving the sport and lending it to us. So they have competed in the World Lacrosse Championship. So in just a moment, when I show you the 30 nations that are coming here to San Diego, 29 of them you'll recognize, and the 30th one now you will, because it's the Haudenosaunee. And we have said as a sport, we will not play in the LA 28 games unless the Haudenosaunee is able to participate. As we think about inclusion and diversity, and we think about learning and being accepting of new cultures, that's one of the things that makes this event so special coming up for this city and hopefully far beyond.
Wild times. One of the best to ever pick up a lacrosse stick.
Here's your list of the qualified nations. Again, 6 continents represented. One of the special connections that we've made for these games is to the international cottages at Balboa Park. More than half of these countries have cottages there. And so tying in people with historical, ethnic, cultural backgrounds, relatives, or they themselves who have come over from these different countries now get a chance to support their nations as they come here to play this summer. The event itself, June 21st to July 1st, 3 different venues: Snapdragon Stadium, University of San Diego at Torero Stadium, and then San Diego State University at the sports deck there and the surrounding fields. As for Snapdragon Stadium, who's had a chance to be in that beautiful, magnificent building so far? All right, about 10%. So Saturday, the rest of you will be there. It's fantastic. It's great. It is, it's the new gem in town. And so we're going to be hosting the opening ceremonies on June 21st. The opening game, which is USA, Canada, which are the two top countries in the world in this sport. We will have the semifinal games in there on June 29th. We will have the gold and bronze medal games in there on July 1st, as well as the closing ceremonies. Tons of premium hospitality space, absolutely spectacular venue. At USD Torero Stadium, which has hosted several pro sports here in the last few years, 6,000 seats. There is a plaza area just above, just to the right of the imagery here. That's going to be a great area, beer garden. John, I heard that might matter. Beer garden activations, a lot of fun at this event. This is actually where the top division, which is United States, Canada, England, Haudenosaunee, and Australia, that's where their games are going to be played, except for the ones at Snapdragon Stadium. And then SDSU with more than 80 games here at the sports deck and the surrounding fields. A lot of opportunity to take in a sport, a lot of opportunity to learn from other nations and see them and support them as well. So what does this all mean? It's great that we're doing this. It's a lot of fun. It's a ton of work. But what does it mean? What's the impact? Why is Mayor Gloria so supportive of this event? Well, one of these impacts is tourism dollars, right? What does it mean for our city? It means that we're going to have thousands of people coming in here to San Diego, and they're going to visit our restaurants. They're going to come check out the Hotel Del and maybe jump on a boat out here from the yacht club or other, right? They're going to support our city. They're going to publicize our city. They're going to post on social media. And the tail of the event is long beyond, just like for an Olympic Games, the tail is long beyond just for those, in this case, 11 days when the competition is here. So there's opportunity for your businesses. There's opportunity for your friends who own businesses or work at places. We're going to be the beneficiary of this here in Coronado and beyond. There's general exposure. ESPN is a partner of the World Championship. Games on linear television, games on streaming, games broadcast on other distribution outlets throughout the world. San Diego, Coronado, San Diego, right? It's going to be mentioned over and over again. So fantastic opportunity for our city to steal the spotlight for this period of time. Education. I listened to a TED Talk yesterday morning that I actually sent to our entire staff. And it was about women's sports and why women's sports have trailed in coverage compared to men's sports. Fascinating TED Talk. But the woman who spoke, she said two things that all sports really are about when it comes to exposure. And this is true actually at all businesses, and to my wife who does not work in sports, is it comes down to the stakes and storytelling. So if you think about an Olympic medal, we say that an Olympic medal means something. We say the Olympic Games means something, right? That medal means something. We say in baseball that winning the World Series or winning the Vince Lombardi trophy in football, it means something, right? So the stories that are going to be told about the stakes for some of these nations just to get here, or maybe even to get a chance to play for their national teams for some of these athletes, or for the Uganda team and what it meant for them to win the African qualifier, and how hard it was for two nations in Africa actually to meet and play this game to determine who got to come here and compete for the world championship. We're going to learn from their cultures. We're going to learn from their players, their coaches, their family members. It's going to be a great opportunity for us to become more globally informed. So this is where I come asking for your support, and your support can come in so many different ways. First, just welcoming me with open arms today. I can't thank you enough. Just to share the story, right? Storytelling is important. We talked about it. We went about this process very backwards. Usually what happens for an event of this magnitude, an international competition, is cities would bid on this event. And what they would do through mayor's offices or chambers of commerce or economic development or tourism councils is they would get large businesses to support it in a meaningful way. They'd put forth a bid process and say, we want to host, and here's how we're going to do it. But it was so important to our owner that we had this event here, that we're a stone's throw from the LA 28 organizing committee, so that they could come here and see the professionalism that we're going to put forth. So we can get this sport of the Olympics. We can get San Diego considered for hosting some of the games, some of the actual Olympic competitions for LA 28. So it was really important. And so what we did was we did it backwards. We fronted Joe's money to say, we're going to be, foot the bill for this. And hopefully there'll be a tail where people will help support us. So if you work for a company that could benefit from people who are coming into town, or from people who are actually going to come and support these games, we would ask for your help in that regard. If you're looking for a great place to host your clients or your prospects, amazing premium hospitality at Snapdragon Stadium and opportunities also at Torero Stadium. Length of event passes. We price them in a way for 11 days. It's kind of like the amusement park model. If you come 2-3 times, it pays for itself. So consider length of event passes, which by the way have sold incredibly well. And then these ones are free. Word of mouth marketing. Tell your friends that this event is coming. Send them to worldlax2023.com. Greatly appreciate it. The more people that know, the more opportunities there are for us to get this message out and for people to come and learn about other cultures and hopefully support our local businesses. Introductions. Who do you know that's worthwhile for our organization to come and speak with? I always say my philosophy in business, 15 minutes, I will say yes to anything for 15 minutes. Because you never know where the conversation is going to go. Dave Oates and I, what happened? It was, hey, let's do 15 minutes. And we sat down and had coffee. And I'm here today. And our CEO is going to be speaking to Golden Triangle Rotary on March 17th. And then the last is volunteerism. If you have time, if you can give time, time is so precious. If you're able to give that leading up to the games or specifically during the games to volunteer and be part of a special event that comes here to San Diego, we're accepting volunteers as well. And we can't thank you enough in advance. You know, the mission and vision statement of Rotary about advancing world understanding, goodwill, and peace, I was like, wow, this aligns so incredibly well with what we talk about when it comes to international competition. And I mentioned the African nations of what it took to get them to play against each other. And you think about the Olympic Games and how sometimes during wars, they put down their guns and say, in the spirit of competition, we're going to take a break from that and we're going to focus on this amazing athletic achievement and personal achievement that people have. I also see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change. And that's what we're looking to do. So this event coming to your city, coming to our great city, I would say means we've already won. I think we've won. It's here. It's coming here. It's our chance to collaborate, advance your mission, and work together on a successful future. So I thank you so much for having me today, for inviting me into your club to celebrate your birthday, to listen to great music. And I don't know how we are on time, but if there is any time, any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
All your photographs were men and
Yes.
players, and I was a man player, but I was wondering about the women's side of the house with the international cross.
Yeah, great question. So the women's championship actually was held in 2022. So it's a quadrennial event, both the men's and the women's games. The women's event was just held. There'll be again in 2026. So different years. It's around the globe. Yeah. So there's equality through competition. And when we talk about getting lacrosse to the Olympics, it is men's and women's.
Great presentation. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the players on the U.S. national team, their ages? Are they all, are there any from the SEALs? Where do they come from?
Yeah, good question. They are from all across the country. The sport itself, as we talk about the origins of the game, traditionally the sport was played from the modern day version really well in Baltimore and Northern Virginia, Long Island, Central New York. But it's amazing how quickly you can put a stick in a kid's hand and they can get really good. So while there are still many players in the national team who hail from the East Coast, we do have greater diversity around the country. And we do have a player, Danny Logan, who if you come out on Saturday, you'll see him taking faceoffs for us. Danny Logan is the best what's called short stick defensive midfielder for the outdoor game in the world. A short stick defensive midfielder, if you're familiar with the outdoor game, defenders they get 6-foot poles to go and whack people and beat them up. And Danny's so good. He plays with a short stick and he picks up the top midfielder on the opposing team. So Danny Logan will be on there. And then we have several players on our team who are on the Canadian roster, as well as Austin Stotts on the Haudenosaunee team. Ages are anywhere from, I would say 18. I mean, Austin played when he was 18. That's pretty rare. Usually 22 up to mid-30s. We actually are our captain on the SEALs, who just played in the last World Championship. He's 41 years young. It's incredible to see athletes still performing at that level. You think about like the Tom Brady's and being able to do it. So yeah, it's 20s and 30s primarily. Yeah.
We do a lot of volunteer work. How do we volunteer with your upcoming event?
Excellent. So if you go to worldlax2023.com, or I'll leave my information here with the club. What we can do is get you in touch with the person on our team who's managing the volunteer process. I appreciate your interest. Great. Oh, right behind Mary here. Yes.
Here in Coronado.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
And but when their coaches are played in college, and then oftentimes these kids from Coronado get to play in Vermont and go back to the conference and what have you.
Yeah.
So what have you done to reach out? What have you done to reach out to the college kids, college teams that may stimulate more interest, and also high school teams?
Yeah. Well, the college teams, the only NCAA sanctioned college team right here in Division I is SDSU. And we have a very strong relationship on the women's side. We have a very strong relationship with their coaching staff. I actually was on the phone with their head coach and one of their assistants within the last week as we talk about this event this weekend and beyond. On the men's side, there are club programs that are self-funded, right? And so we work with them. We have some ways to help, get more people playing, get them into the, getting them into schools so that they can go play. The high school side, our players, one of the faults I would say about our players is that they always say yes. And saying yes is not a bad thing, but what they do is they give so much of their time to go to local youth practices, high school games and practices. Some of our guys even coach here locally around their pro schedule and practice schedule. And the sport, while we know there are now 2 million participants within the United States, it's still it has this very small feel and intimate feel to it. And so even these pro athletes have a very close connection. Two of our best players, two of our assistant captains run our Junior SEALs program, which is an opportunity for kids who want to learn the box game, our version of the sport, not what's being seen in the World Championship this summer, but our version of the sport. And you can see the trajectory of these players. If you get good coaching and you have your stick in your hand a lot, you can be an incredible player. And it's really nice to see actually on our roster how, the last 2 years we've drafted players who actually were born in San Diego and play their high school ball in San Diego, whereas 5-10 years ago, that would never have been a possibility. Yeah.
How long is the season? Sorry. How long is the season and how are the players compensated?
The season runs from December through April, with the playoffs May, potentially into the first week in June. That would be if it goes game 3 of the finals. So it's an 18-game regular season, 9 home, 9 road. We normally play all our home games at Pechanga Arena, San Diego, which is the San Diego Sports Arena, right there in Point Loma. Of course, the anomaly is this Saturday's special game. And then how the players are compensated, they are just like other leagues. They're drafted by a team or signed as free agents, and then we are responsible for their salaries and benefits and other responsibilities, and for getting them around North America. We have 15 teams in our league, 10 in the United States and 5 in Canada. Mary's got one.
We've got
we gotta go. I'll answer after.
time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, but thank you, Josh. I really appreciate it. Okay, so we can move on. So next week, we're at the Coronado Kays Yacht Club. It's the Rotary Music Scholarship Competition. So everybody go out and have an amazing Rotary week.